Hi, my name is Steven and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking to you about my thoughts on fatherhood, things that I want to do for my son. As I enter the first few months of being a father, I have a lot of emotions and feelings from my past childhood. It's been bubbling up ever since I became a father, and it's been interesting to see the difference between my childhood and the childhood of my son. Most of the experiences has been positive, but there are some negative feelings from my own childhood. And I've been working through and try to understand my own father's methods, and what I didn't realize was how powerful the emotions of my childhood bled into my being a father. This has brought up a lot of mixed emotions from my childhood and that I want to course correct for my son. Because reflecting on my own childhood, my father didn't do a lot of the things that I want to do for my son, and it impacted me greatly. Even to this day, there are long-term effects of what happened to me during my childhood. With that being the case, I'm plotting a new plan for my child so that he doesn't go through the same things I did. Breaking this cycle will be difficult, but awareness and hard work will help us to course correct for the better. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about my background, the things that I want to do for my son, and my general thoughts. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends, hit that notification bell if you'd like this content. And here we go. So to put it simply, my father didn't really engage with me or was present during my childhood. Even though he was physically there, he wasn't there to emotionally support me through the difficult times. Whether that was due to a lot of work or just general lack of knowledge about how to be a father. Even though that might sound harsh, he was an immigrant parent from another country. This means that he probably didn't know all the things needed to be a good parent during that time. That's not to say I totally absolve the blame from him, but it does explain why. So during my childhood, I definitely didn't get a lot of direction or guidance growing up. And because of the language barrier from my parents, I didn't really understand the culture until I got into it myself. Honestly, I wish this was different and I had a more normal childhood growing up. Because all the things that I didn't know eventually became a struggle for me to try to complete, while others, being the same age, completed them with much more ease. So now that I'm a father, I'm looking back into the past and seeing what I can do differently. And know that I will be much different than my father was to me. Really, what it comes down to is being patient, being present with him, and giving him love and support. So that ultimately he doesn't need to struggle with life as much as I did growing up. So here are some of the things that I want to do for my son. Number one, be there. I think just being there for him is the easiest thing that I can do differently from my father. Growing up, my dad worked a lot of hours and he did so far away from the house. Even when we moved closer to his work, he was still at his job for a lot of hours during the day. So basically, I didn't see him until the night and only for a few hours before I had to go to bed. This really meant that he didn't have the time or energy to give to me. I frankly will be different in this regard. Because the long-term consequences of him not being present for me is still affecting me even to this day. So this is the one thing that I'm planning to do more of. So being there for my son will be a must. I'm going to schedule in hours each and every day to support my son, so I can bond with him and also make him feel like both parents are present for him. This means that we'll implement more family time and just be engaged as a family, so that ultimately he can come to me for support, guidance, and direction in life. Number two, listen to him. Once he is speaking and making sense in the world, I vow to listen more to my son. This means giving him space to emotionally express himself and his feelings, so that he has a sounding board for his frustrations and issues in his life. I, quite frankly, did not get this in my childhood. My father didn't want to listen to me. He didn't understand my problems or issues, nor did he have the time and energy to listen to me. And most of the time, it was like talking to a wall. I couldn't even get feedback for him to recognize me. It was a very sore point in my life, and it still is to this day. I think that whatever my father was going through at the time, he just didn't have enough mental space to listen to me. So as I start my own journey into fatherhood, I'm very cognizant of that as an issue going forward. There are going to be times that I might not have enough energy for my son, but I will vow to do the best that I can. Because as much as I understand hard work, you have to be present for your child at least some of the time. So my plan is to schedule time, listen to him, and give him a space for all of his issues. And crucially, not to judge him until I understand the full context of his problems. So just listening to him will be an important step for me as a dad. Number three, provide tools. As I reflect on my childhood, I realized that I really didn't have a lot of tools growing up in the 90s in America. As immigrants, my parents didn't really understand all the tools at their disposal and how they could help me through some of my challenges. It was on me to figure out things that I need to do and for my future. Tools like how to talk to people, how to make friends, and even how to get into college. The best way that I learned how Americans operated was through movies and television shows. This wasn't obviously the best way, but it worked out in the end. There was a constant feeling of frustration during my childhood because I was always a step behind other people. because the other parents I knew guided their children more during their childhood. And the fact that I had no one else to count on didn't make me feel good during that time. This is absolutely something that I don't want my son to go through. And even though there's not a cultural barrier between me and my son, there are still things that I want to show him, tools to give him, so that he can really get a head start and be successful in this world. And if I can't figure it out, I'll point him to YouTube or Reddit. Ultimately, the end of the goal is to just give him more tools to work with as a child into adolescence, and not just let him loose into the world to figure out on his own. So I'll work hard to provide him the tools that he needs to survive in this world. Number 4, show him the world. As a consequence of not having a lot of money growing up, I was very sheltered. This meant that I had limited exposure to different cultures and travel around the world. We didn't eat at different restaurants and we didn't travel too far out of LA. This meant that when I had a little bit of freedom and journey out into the world, I was shocked at what I found, and all the wonderful things that I didn't realize existed. The lack of exposure to cultures and the rest of the world did set me back a little when I became an adult. It took me a lot longer to get comfortable with new things in my life, and I definitely discovered the travel bug a lot later in life. This will be a vastly different experience for my son. My wife and I are world travelers, and we want our son to be as well. He'll have a lot of exposure to different cultures and foods before his 5th birthday, and I want to show him the world as soon as he's able to get on that plane. And even if we can't travel, I'll make diversity and cultural inclusion a big part of his life, so that in the long run, he'll be more open to new experiences. And number 5, give love. Finally, as much as possible, just give him love. My father didn't know what it was or how to show love. And he really, even to this day, never had the capacity to be able to express it. Maybe growing up in a different culture, love was expressed very, very differently. So simple things like a hug, a kind word, or being present just didn't exist within my father. And being able to express those things would have helped me greatly during my childhood. Navigating childhood on my own was very difficult without loving support. And the funny thing is, I didn't really know what I was missing out on until I visited my friends' houses. In which case, their parents showed them love and support throughout their day. And it was very different on how they interact with each other relative to my family. This was an absolute eye-opening experience for me, and not in a good way. So I think that just showing our son a simple love and support throughout his day and life will be very beneficial for him, and really give him the emotional support so that he can take on challenges in life, and more crucially, be able to show that love to other people he meets. So I'll give him love as best as I can as a father. So here are my general thoughts on what do I want to do for my son. It's interesting now that I'm viewing my childhood in the context of my own child. These feelings and emotions are drawing out a lot of conflict that I thought were settled, and that I moved on from rather than not being processed and still feeling that pain. But it goes to show that we never truly forget the pain from our past. And confronting the past mistakes of others through your own lens of your life gives you much more perspective. I now know why some of the things that my father did when I was a child. It helps me to give me more perspective, but it doesn't necessarily alleviate the emotions from it. I think that this is going to be a long, ongoing process of me reflecting on my childhood as I become more of a father. And I do think that more things will come up along the way. This isn't over. My goal long term is to understand more of what my father did and eventually be at peace with it. It may take a while, but I do hope to get there one day. So those are the things that I want to do with my son that I didn't get to do with my father. Having a son has really changed me in a way that I hadn't anticipated before. I'm starting to now understand why my parents did things the way that they did now that I'm a parent. My childhood was not ideal and I grew up a lot of scars from that time. And unraveling all those feelings and emotions are going to take a lot of time. But knowing the issues and deficits that it's created, I have a plan in place for my own son and show him a different way of parenting that's ultimately more supportive of him. And hopefully he'll grow up more well-adjusted than I ever did. So thank you for watching. Please leave me a comment down below on what are your thoughts on being a parent and what are the mistakes that you're trying not to make from your own parents. And I'll see you next time.